Alright, here comes the teeth cam, and I'll give you the explanation as we go along here. To get this plug apart, you just need to stick a screwdriver between the horseshoe clip and the other side of the plug, and then there's a small tab that's going down when you push on it. And when you push on it, you can just pull or push it out. I'm going to use two hands to show you. And there it is. This is power to the fuel pump. This is coming from the distribution box. Here's the fuel pump, and that forward fuel line is gray, and the aft fuel line is blue. Make sure that you mark that, because you don't want to put them on backwards. Alright, next thing we want to do here is take these safety clips off. It's real easy. I'm going to turn it to its side so you can see it. You just push down on the larger side like that, and that is all clear.
Now let's make that fuel line disconnect tool.
Now, to get those fuel lines off, you need a fuel line removal tool. And down there at the fuel pump, what you need is either a Sharpie marker or a cylinder of some sort, and in this case it's a lip balm cylinder. But you can use either one, or you can go to the store. You can get it on eBay. You can get a fuel line toolkit. Either way, I just don't like to wait, so I'm going to go ahead and make myself a tool that will remove the fuel line right there at the fuel pump.
So perhaps you have a chapstick lip balm cylinder handy in the house or in the garage. I remembered that I had this one in my tackle box.
Alright, so all we need to do is clear that plug out of the lip balm cylinder. I'm going to use a drill bit. You can use anything, screwdriver, doesn't matter. Cut a slit so we can put it over top of the fuel line and push it up into the connector and dislodge the fuel line connector clips from the nipple.
Clean up each end with a file and taper one end of it to push up into the connector.
That one's a little messy, but you know, just showing you a couple things that you can use. The second method is to cut a Sharpie cap. Got to cut it about 1 inch long, no more than 1 inch.
If you use a vise to hold the Sharpie cap while you're cutting it, be sure not to tighten down too much on the cap itself, because it'll just bend and kind of break. So it's a little fragile. And you'll notice that the end that you did not cut has a slight taper on it. That is the end you want to put up into the connector.
Alright, that looks pretty good. We're just going to use our wire cutters and just cut a slit all the way from one side to the other. So we're cutting the cylinder from end to end so that we can open up the slit and put it around the fuel line. So we'll be able to push our tool up into the connector and dislodge those clips
from the nipple.
That's perfect. So yeah, we're going to put this Sharpie on there. It's got the tapered end and should be able to just push it up into the fitting. It'll release those clips from the nipple and it should just pull right off.
Grab some needle nose pliers and just place them at the far end of your disconnect tool and push it up into the fitting.
Just like that. It's got
4 clips in there
that are holding on to that nipple. And put in the Sharpie. It just releases those pins from the nipple. And you've got your fuel line off. Let's do it to the other one as well. Perfect. And no spillage. That was really good. Here's the new fuel pump that I've gotten online. It's got a dual port. That's what I have down here. And then of course it's got a sending unit on it, and it's got the motor for the pump. So you want to make sure that you get the right one. This one's got a little arrow, and the best thing to do when you're online is to take a picture of what you have in there originally. This one's got a nice little arrow on it as well, but it should match up and look the same on the top as the one that you're purchasing. That looks pretty close. And I believe the arrow, is just pointing to the rear of the van here, so that the sending unit for the fuel gauge doesn't hit the sides of the tank. Let's go ahead and put this together. Alright, well, it came with some instructions for putting the fuel gauge arm on there. It's had a few clips in here, or what look like clips, but I don't think they do anything. So let's just put this together. So you've got the sending unit for the fuel gauge right here, and we've got a float, and that's going to go right into the hole and then connect into the clip right here. Can only go in one way. Once you hear it snap, you're in there. You can check the motion, just make sure it's got good motion, and it looks like it does. And I think we're ready to take this old one out and put the new one in. I'm going to go ahead and clean off the top of that tank again. I did it once, but we're going to do it again because there's still stuff on there. So do your best to get it pretty clean there, because once you have it open, rust will get in there or metal flakes. So let's go ahead and take it out. What you need is a 5/16 inch nut driver or socket. It'll fit right over top of those bolts that are going down into the tank. Okay, I'm just wrenching on them. Let you know there's not a lot of torque on them. It doesn't take much to loosen them up at all. But don't take them out real fast, because they may bust off and then you're in trouble. So just nice and slow. If you get a lot of resistance on it, I'd go ahead and back off of it and put it back in just a little bit to get that rust or dirt, whatever's inside of the threads, off of it. So get them all loosened up and make it to where they're just about ready to come out, and then carefully take them out, because there is dirt that's right around all of these threads going down into the tank. Alright, I've taken the screws out and I've put them off to the side here on a nice clean rag, just trying to keep all the rust and metal, flakes, whatever off of it. I've marked the two fuel lines leaving the pump. The aft one is blue, the forward one is gray, and this thing has a little bit of a seal on it, so it might be hard to pull off there, might not. Let's take it out of there. So the old one is out. Might look at your new one, just make sure it looks the same before you go and installing it, because you might have to send it back. So that's side by side. Here's our sending unit, float. Got a filter on the end, little plastic rubber piece, same size. Let's see if the threads look the same, or the holes. I think so. That thing's good to go. Just be careful putting in your float switch or your float. Looks like we got about a half a tank in there. That fits down on there real nice and snug. So the seal's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and put in our bolts, machine screws. I can hardly wait to fire this up. See if we hear the fuel pump come on, things like that. Let's tighten these down and then we'll plug it in. Alright, I've just about got these all tightened down, and once again the torque isn't all that, you know, fantastic. I don't know what the torque is supposed to be, but you make sure it's on there snug. And you can feel it when it's torquing down on it. And try to get them all about the same, because you want, you know, a nice seal. And then you can go ahead and hook everything up. So we want to thread the electrical wires underneath of the fuel lines so that it will properly reach the connector. And then you check your fuel lines. Blue should be where? To the rear. Gray towards the front of the van. Gotta pull these little caps off, of course. And you probably heard that, it just snaps right on. Right over the nipple. Perfect. Then you put the little safety back in there. One-handed. That looks real good. Let's go ahead and plug it in. It's in there good. I think we're ready to try to fire it up. See if this thing makes some noise. See if it won't start the engine here. When I turn the ignition key on, we should hear the pump engage. I did, I could hear it. Let's try it out. Perfect. Just check all of your seals, make sure there's no leakage here. Definitely don't want any fuel leaks. This all looks real good.
Not sure you're replacing the proper parts? Watch more of today's how-to videos on troubleshooting fuel pump problems and replacement videos right here on Atlantic Drain.